You know, we spend our whole lives trying to learn new things, but what about unlearning? It's this hidden skill of letting go of old ideas. And honestly, it might just be the most important skill you're not even thinking about. So today, let's get into the science of why it's so incredibly tough, but also why it's so crucial for getting ahead.
So let's start with a question we've all asked ourselves. Why is it so hard to change our minds? I mean, you can see the new evidence, you get the logic, but it feels like there's this invisible wall, this deep resistance holding you back. We've all been there, and it turns out that feeling is very, very real.
And here's the thing that might just change how you see yourself. If you find it hard to unlearn something, you're not failing. It's not a lack of willpower. This whole struggle is actually a built-in feature of your brain's operating system. It's how you were designed.
And this really gets to the core of it. We look at this resistance and we call it an inability to change, like it's a personal flaw. But what if we've got it all wrong? What if it's actually a powerful biological drive for stability? See, your brain isn't trying to fight you. It's just trying to protect the stable, efficient world it's already built for you.
Okay, so let's dig into that idea a little more. What exactly is this stability bias that's basically hardwired into our brains?
The thing is, your brain wasn't built for constant radical change. Not at all. It's an energy-saving machine, and it's optimized to be efficient and predictable. To do that, it creates all these mental shortcuts and models so it can run on autopilot. From a biological standpoint, real deep change is just incredibly expensive. It costs a lot of energy.
Think of it like this. Your brain has these pre-built filters, right? And when new information comes along, it doesn't just land on a clean slate. Nope, it gets shoved through these old filters. And if that new info doesn't quite fit, well, your brain is more likely to bend or distort the new information than it is to build a whole new filter from scratch.
So when we try to unlearn something, we're basically asking our brain to do some serious heavy lifting. We're telling it to take on a way bigger mental load, to actually tear down those old, super efficient ways of thinking, and then, piece by piece, rebuild brand new ones. It's basically a full-scale renovation inside your head.
Now, this internal battle doesn't just stay in the background. It shows up as real, incredibly powerful barriers. Let's call them the 5 walls of resistance.
So here they are, the 5 major systems that are all working together to keep our thinking exactly where it is. Our brain's obsession with efficiency, our deep, personal sense of identity, those habits we don't even think about, the huge pressure from social norms, and of course, our natural instinct to avoid risk. We're going to take a closer look at a few of the big ones right now.
All right, let's start with a massive one, habits. A huge chunk of our day-to-day life just runs on autopilot. You know, these routines are amazing, they're super efficient, they free up our conscious mind to think about other stuff, but that very same efficiency is exactly what makes them so unbelievably hard to change.
The whole process is driven by this simple little brain loop. You get a cue, which triggers a routine, and that leads to a reward. But here's the wild part. Over time, that behavior gets so locked in that it keeps going even if the reward completely disappears. The loop itself becomes the reason. So to unlearn a habit, you're fighting this powerful, self-sustaining cycle.
And now for the next wall. And believe me, this one cuts deep. I'm talking about identity. Our beliefs, especially the really core ones, they aren't just ideas we have. They become part of who we are. So when something forces us to question one of those beliefs, it can feel like a direct attack on our sense of self.
I mean, think about it. If you've built your whole identity around being an expert in something, unlearning can feel like admitting you're wrong, that your foundation is shaky. It's a fundamental threat to your self-image. It puts everything you thought you knew at risk.
And then there's the power of the group. We are social creatures through and through, hardwired to want to belong, to be consistent with our tribe, whether that's our family, our coworkers, or our group of friends.
Yeah, our social circles, they usually reward us for staying the same. They like predictability. The moment you step out of line or challenge how the group thinks, you can be met with some serious friction, confusion, or sometimes even outright social punishment. Okay, so with all of these powerful walls standing in our way,
How does real change ever actually happen?
well, it turns out the answer lies in something we usually try our best to run away from, the discomfort catalyst. We usually think of being lost or confused as a bad thing, right? A sign we've messed up. But in the world of unlearning, that feeling of being completely disoriented, that's actually the starting line.
It's the crack in the old foundation that makes it possible to build something totally new.
There's actually a formal name for this. It's called transformative learning. And the theory says that deep, real change doesn't start with a nice, neat little plan. It kicks off with a disorienting dilemma, some experience that just completely shatters our assumptions and forces us to look at the world in a whole new way. So that mental and emotional discomfort you feel when you're in the middle of unlearning something, that's not a stop sign. It's the exact opposite. Think of it as the price of admission you have to pay to get access to brand new, incredibly valuable ways of seeing things.
So how do we use all this to our advantage? Well, it's time for us to do a powerful reframe of this whole struggle.
And this really gets to what the experience is like for so many of us. If this feeling of being lost and struggling is a natural, necessary part of growth, then why does it feel so profoundly like we are failing?
Well, it feels like failure because the symptoms are legitimately awful. You've got cognitive overload from trying to do all these new mental gymnastics. You feel that deep emotional discomfort because your whole worldview is shaking. Your behavior gets all inconsistent as you try new things. And like we talked about, it can feel like a direct threat to who you are.
But here it is. This is the most important thing I want you to take away from all of this. That feeling of struggle, of being lost, of just how hard it is, that isn't a bug in your system. It is the system. It's a feature of deep, meaningful learning.
So the next time you feel that resistance, that discomfort, that feeling that this is just impossible, I want you to reframe it. Don't look at it as a stop sign. See it as a progress bar. It's a sign that unlearning is happening right now. And your only job is to stay with it.